why they say that is because you're in essence directing your energy towards young Black people that are trying to make it. So what that Casper doesn't have, the money in his bank account? He's pushing, he's hustling, he's trying to make a difference. He's, and you are like a counter to the progress. So what's your net worth? What's your current net worth?
I don't know. I don't know, but
Nota, guy as informed as you doesn't know what their net worth is. Hey, she takes me back to what Lerato Khanyako said about the approach, the tact. It could have been done better. It could have been handled better because addiction is a serious thing. Addiction is like a serious thing, man.
You don't know that person.
I wanted to get there. I wanted to get exactly there.
Now, I know that Casper doesn't have savings. I know that he can't do that. So
how do you know all of this? How do you know all of that? Okay, starters, we're just waiting for Nota to basically join via the link. There was a bit of miscommunication there. So just wait for him. It's going to be a power-packed interview. So I'm truly, truly looking forward to it. Let's just give him a few. In the meantime, how do we empower each other in this particular interview? First and foremost, I want you, when you are listening to his responses, my questions, and our interaction overall, I want you to basically be open-minded. Don't judge a person before you get to know him. So this is a good opportunity for the channel. I think he's just joined now. Yo, Nota, what up, man?
How are you doing? I need to fix myself for the camera.
You need to fix yourself for the camera, bro. I'm actually doing some adjustments here myself. I hope I'm looking pretty dapper here on the camera, bro. But you're looking good. You're looking good. How are you, buddy?
I look better in real life.
Whose rap line is that, by the way? I know you're into hip hop.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I quote myself, but obviously, a lot of people have gotten used to a very scruffy looking me.
Yeah, for sure.
So I allowed that to be my look for convenience.
That's super.
But as part of rebranding and actually becoming more of myself, decided to go back to my mother's favorite haircut.
No, super. Thanks first and foremost for watching the video and then reaching out. A lot of people, unfortunately, if a channel is small, there's limited influence, they wouldn't respond, to something like that. Even though the video is about you personally, you still wouldn't respond. So it actually took me by surprise that you actually responded and responded positively at that. So big up to you for that, brother.
I watched your TikTok video. So I love content. So after that, I went down the wormhole and I saw all your content.
Dope.
So from that, sorry about that. I just received a text. But after seeing the content that you posted, and seeing what your channel is about, I really like what you're doing. And I just wanted to support.
And I appreciate it. And you're actually big on that. But this is where I want to kickstart it, Nota, when I posted the video, there were mixed reactions from my circle. So my inner circle, via your WhatsApps and stuff, and also via your Facebook friends and the like, but not in the sense of love him or hate him, as is usually the perspective, right? It was now in the sense of some people actually know you and know who you are. A friend of mine actually reached out and said, I've listened to some of his spaces. He's a pretty informed guy, right? And then there's those that don't know you from a bar of soap. And they were asking me, who's this Nota guy? Who's this Nota guy? So for their benefit, can we just start there? Maybe tell us, who is this authority? What have you done? What are you currently doing? And what are you all about? Yeah, it's
Um,
power packed, and I know your answer is going to be just as power packed.
no. Actually, it's pretty simple. You know, I'm I'm just a kid who never grew up. Um, who's always um, been consumed by his dreams. And who chases them with a fervor reserved only for madmen. So, you know, um, I'm the son of a great man, and
Dope.
there's a saying: never step into a great man's shoes. So a lot of my youth has been trying to define myself outside of
Mm.
my father's shadow, and which obviously made me very rebellious.
Mm.
Only to find through self-discovery that I was very much like my father. So to describe myself, I would say I'm my father's son. But for those who know me for my work, I'm a record executive. I run a record label which released the best-selling singles in South African music history. Also released the best-selling hip-hop album in South African music history.
Mm.
As well as I'm a composer, songwriter. I've written many songs um, that have been the soundtrack of the past decades that we just emerged from 2 years ago. And now I'm an aspiring venture capitalist who
Oh,
is
dope.
investing very heavily in the media space. Um, as far from a mentorship perspective, and as well as financial resources, investing capital in building independent black-owned media platforms. So yeah,
Mm. So now your by record label you're referring to Urbantainment.
yeah.
Ah, dope. And then by the defining songs of the South African landscape, you are referring to now the work you've done with Questa, and then but you do say that you've written a lot of
No,
other songs, you've
not just
composed a lot of
like
songs.
TEDx as well.
I was actually gonna get to
Artists
that
like
Mfazwe, that chorus that you did there. That was the first time I saw you do a young hook nyana there, hitting those vocals.
yeah,
So there are other songs besides that one.
lots. I mean, the first song that you saw me featured on was "Preacher" by Questa.
Preacher.
Yeah, it's on the card too.
Okay,
You
I've
know,
listened to the card too a number of times, but you know
Mm.
that us we into the mainstream at times. You know?
I'm on the last two songs on the first disc,
I'll actually give it a listen
"Preacher"
after this
and "Karma." Yeah, so
because I
whenever I'm
actually
on a
bought.
track, I'm always on the songs that have got a socially conscious message.
Mm,
Um, yeah, Mfazwe Pepper was like basically dealing with um, the struggle of finding love in this materialistic world of today. As a black
mm,
man, you know,
mm.
you could find the love of your life and give her your father's cows, only to find that she belongs to the streets, which is a story that many men have sung about, and something that I know from personal experience. You listen to a song like Kwesta Ngeskelanga, which features Tapsi, which is the best-selling single in South African music history, sold over 2 million copies. I wrote that chorus, and that's basically the story of my own heartbreak.
Dope. So when Nota, I mean when Makwa, because I listened to his interview on KFM, and he
Mhm.
mentioned that he's the one that almost came up with a concept and gave it to Questa, said Uti Pela, we are shata baba, we are shata baba. So let's
No,
do a
that's
song
different
around
song.
that.
That's a different song. That's Ketile Ketile.
Oh, Ketile, my bad,
That's
my
a
bad,
that's a completely different song. I
my
also want a
bad.
sweet. I also want a sweet. You had a sweet all by yourself. Where's my sweet? Bring me my sweet. Bring me my sweet first. I also want my sweet. Sorry. There's a young
No
child here.
worries. No
I just
worries,
want
man.
to. I asked him to get me a sweet so that he can look for that sweet and not bother us.
Oh, smart move. So now was MacG right? Because now you've just mentioned a ton of things that you're doing. It's the record label, the composing, songwriting, being a venture
Those are the things that
capitalist
I've done.
now.
Those are the things I've done. The composing, the running a record label, those are things that I've done.
And then in terms of what you're doing, it's the venture capitalist. And
That's what I'm doing now.
yeah, so being a venture capitalist, you do a lot of research, you look into those companies, you learn about them. You basically use time as your resource to find out about all those companies and who to invest in and the like. So that's what I want to get
I look at
to.
the industry. I look at the industry. I look at the potential for growth, and then I look at whether there is certain gaps within that market or within that industry that are not being fulfilled. And I look at the people who have the potential to fulfill them, or those who are not seeing the opportunity, but with a little bit of mentorship could seize the opportunity more. So if you look at like I went to MacG's podcast and I basically told him like this is the potential of the podcast, this is the power, this is the responsibility that you now have and everything else, you know. There's a video clip of me basically prophesizing all the things that, you know, eventually ended up happening. But it wasn't about prophecy, it was actually about mentorship and guiding him.
I remember that.
Yeah, and
I remember that.
And yeah, and I've been a great supporter and a great sponsor in terms of my mentorship to him.
No, that's true. And you're visible, not only in the background, but in the forefront as well. So why would MacG himself see you as someone who has too much time on your hands and do that analogy of you and Siki Mazwai having too much time on your hands, and therefore you are able to do all these other things with your time rather than focus on this mentorship and the venture capitalism and the like?
You know, it's a comedy show. So like he can say whatever he wants about me. I don't ever take it personally. I understand that he's just doing his job, you know, which is to entertain people. And that's something that a lot of people have said. It's been on the timeline forever. So I guess it was a very easy joke to make. And, you know, yeah. So like, I never even considered it or thought about it. I just laughed. When I was watching that with everybody else and I laughed as if he was talking about someone else.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So you didn't really take offense to that.
And there is very little that I allow to offend me. If ever I'm offended, it's most probably a performative offense. But if I'm honestly and truly offended, I will never show it.
Now, talking about the issue of offense, you know, my video was centered around issues of emotional intelligence, knowing when to fight, when not to fight, and the like, you know. And I actually said in one of those lines, Fela, when you listen to things in double speed, so maybe you missed it. But I said,
well, I listened to them a lot of times, and I didn't miss anything, because although I listen in double time, I listen attentively, because let's say my attention span is 10 minutes, right? If you make a 20-minute video and I listen in double time, I can listen to it within my attention span. But if you've got a 30-minute video and my attention span is 10 minutes, you know, I might listen at normal speed, but after 10 minutes, the last 20 minutes I've switched off already. So the reason why I listen to it in a higher speed is so that I can retain more information within my attention span. Yeah.
No, I got you. So that
and
line
also I can listen to something more and more times.
Nice. So you are optimizing time. That's smart. So that line that I made about how you are very reactive and almost impulsive at times, looking at the issues of, especially on social media. So when you say it's performative, where you block people, that I saw today actually in a tweet, you said it's not because they disagree with you, but because they disrespect you. But in the video, I didn't talk as much about the blocking as I did about your approach when people actually counter what you say, right? Like your rebuttals are negative. There's that.
No one's ever countered what I've said.
You reckon?
Never. They'll insult me. They'll undermine me. they'll, call me a liar, but they won't counter it. They won't say you are wrong because of this. So for me, when I block them, it's because I know that after I block them, they'll then go on mentioning my name and making me trend and saying, "Oh, this guy blocked me," and that'll get more of a reaction. So to me, those people are useful because
also it's strategic for you.
Everything is.
Mm.
There's nothing I've ever done without actually having a strategy for it. So
you play chess?
I was really good at chess. So in the primary school that I went to, Radford House, on Friday, every morning, we had a chess grandmaster, Mr. Salverda. And our first period in the morning, the first hour, was chess class. And only the chess team would go to. And then we'd go to maths after that. So they always had us do our maths early in the morning when our brains are the most attentive. And then we used to get chess classes. I went to a school called Radford House. It's called, the motto of the school was "Let the Light Shine." It's a school for kids with higher learning potential, which we used to call gifted children, but all children are gifted in their own way.
For sure.
My gift was the higher learning potential and the fact that I'm really good at retaining information, and I gamify my learning. Like, for me, it's like an adventure of discovery. So I don't look at it as like I'm learning something. I look at it as I'm in an adventure, and my challenge is to discover as much as I can. And my reward each and every single day would be to come back home and tell my father what I discovered in the day. And so that was my upbringing. Now what they call Radford House the School of Thought. So playing chess has also been, a part of it, and that's why I'm very strategic. So in my tactics, yes, sometimes I do like to scatter people, or make it very hard. You pointed out something that I said. I said, I would never allow you to know my next move.
Yeah.
And there's power in that unpredictability. You know what I mean? If people can't predict what you're going to do, they can't predict whether you're going to react rash or whatever, or they think they can predict. You give them a certain pattern of behavior, and which makes them think that they've pinned you down. And once that is confirmed, then you change that behavior, and then you've got them at your mercy. You can surprise them again.
Which is why the element that I emphasized a lot is Nota actually playing us. So in essence, you are playing us. The people that are following you, that are listening to you, that are watching you, literally, you want us to be one step behind you. So everything you do is strategically purposeful, right? Am I right in saying that?
Not to be one step behind me. I don't think it's about getting ahead of anyone or whatever, because getting ahead of people just creates enemies, which you cannot predict. You know what I mean? So what I like to do rather is I like to allow people to reveal themselves to me by putting them in a position where they have to either be affirmative or not. You understand what I'm saying? Like I put you in it's either, I put you in a position where you have to choose left or right, and depending on that choice, I can then make a judgment on who and what you are. And therefore I can figure you out. So my whole goal is to ensure that I give myself as much of an opportunity for people to reveal themselves to me. You know what I mean? And so that's it. But to think like the world is a game. It's all a game, and everyone's playing a game. Everyone plays the game the way they play the game. For me, I like to see how people play, so I know whether I play with them in the long run, or it's someone that I can just eliminate right now, so that they don't cause a problem for me going forward.
Hopefully, I'm part of that long run in one way or another. Only time will tell.
Well,
Only time will tell. Yeah.
I think I've had to play a very long game.
you know.
Yeah.
And I've learned through a lot of experiences when to be aggressive, when not to be, you know. And in terms of like being aggressive, like I could be aggressive in my approach when I knew that I couldn't be challenged. So look at the past 2 years. It's been a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to stamp my authority in the music and arts space, right? I know that all artists, all musicians are going through the worst time. They don't have the financial resources to get into legal battles. They don't have, you know what I mean? They can't fight. They're fighting for survival. So if there's any opportunity for me to assert my authority, it would be at the point where they're at their weakest, you know? So, you know, but obviously it's not something that you can do forever. You don't want to be fighting forever, and fighting only creates enemies. I mean, even if it's not you that I defeat, whoever's observing me might have a certain level of contempt towards me, you know, which might not be helpful in the long run. So one needs to be able to have timing and know, okay, this is the time to fight. This is the time. It's like now it's January, right?
Yeah.
Now
so
is the time.
gigs are limited, so the artists make less money during this time and things like that.
If I put a screen grab of how much I've got in my savings, I know that Casper's gonna react. So if me and Trevor Gumbi are in cahoots, and after I post my thing, Trevor Gumbi then posts to shut me down, I know that Casper's then gonna jump into the chat because he's gonna see someone humbling me. But I know that he's not in a position to match up. I know that he doesn't have it. But now he sees someone else trying to shut me down, not knowing that me and that person are actually in cahoots.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
But now I understand the technicalities around your strategy, right? But now let's take it down to a more personal level. Like for someone like me or any other person who's in the audience of, you know, your followers or on social media, just on the sidelines, we are seeing things very differently, right? To us, we see you as, you know, a capper, because now you know the hip hop game almost better than a lot of people in the country, you know. And you know that whether an artist buys a car or rents and hires a car, it's been happening since the inception of hip hop. You know, the jewelry game, fake jewelry game, issues of having those big A-list cars, whether rented or not, but the persona of having it as if it's yours. You know, a lot of us see nothing wrong with Casper faking it. You know, you got to fake it to make it. You know, because according to what we see, that's the end goal, right? To inspire.
No. So the thing is this, is that I'm trying to change the perception of what inspiration is. I'm saying you don't inspire people by showing off, because we've seen the perils of that. We've seen people flying high at some point and then going all the way low at the next point. So me, I counterbalance that. I say I actually have investments. You guys buy Cruise vodka, right? But I've got shares in Remgro. You understand? So when you buy that Cruise vodka, you're making me rich. You're making me even richer than the guy whose product you're buying. So keep buying that product. That's what I'm showing, right? But I know social media works on envy. So I put it in a way that people will envy me for having shares. Some people will react, no, you probably just got some shares on easy equities. Doesn't matter how I got those shares. What matters is that I participate in the upside when there are profits to be split. What matters is that I get dividends when dividends is declared. You understand what I'm saying? That's what matters. And then I make people envy that about me. And then
but doesn't the envy also perpetuate the very same thing that you're trying to defeat? Because if the fake it till you make it mentality is not something you go along with, and you're shifting that mindset by creating the envy element first as the point of departure, aren't you then doing a similar thing?
I'm doing a similar thing, but I'm doing it differently. Or I'm not making you envy me buying bottles of crude vodka.
which is what people make you envy. They make you envy the bottles on the table. I'm making you envy the fact that when you buy those bottles, you send the share price up and you make me rich. And I don't even drink liquor.
Yeah, except for that shot you took there at the branch. Ne?
But even so, like, no, even that shot, I'm not dependent on liquor. That's a difference. Someone who can take a shot in celebration is different from someone who needs to take a shot to feel good about themselves. I don't. I'm in control of that. You understand? That's another thing that I control, that I decide, oh, this is the occasion under which I will take a shot. And it was an occasion. It was 100,000 subscriber flag presentation. Yeah, and if you heard the full story of how that actually came about, where I actually brought MacGyver and I introduced him to the YouTube team and I said, this guy is the next big star on YouTube. And then, you know, he ended up doing that. And you know what I mean? So that was his token of appreciation to say, when we get this plaque, you're the person who believed that we could get here. And you supported us until we got here. So that was the one thing. But another thing is that I posted up a screenshot of one of my investment accounts, which is my fixed savings.
I wanted to get there. I wanted to get exactly there.
Now, I know that Casper doesn't have savings. I know that he can't do that. So
how do you know all of this? How do you know all of that?
I'm in the industry, so I'm also at a level within the market that it's like, if you're Pick and Pay, you sort of know how much money ShopRite and Woolworths are making because you're in the same market.
Point taken, but I mean, also, what about all the things that Casper's doing?
I didn't know it for sure. I didn't know it for sure.
Oh,
I didn't know it for sure. I didn't know it for sure. But I was very confident that he won't be able to match up to it. And I proved myself right. Doesn't matter what people see on the outside, what the observers see. What matters is between me and him. He knows I've got it.
Okay. Now it brings me to another point, Nota. I read a screenshot of someone accusing you of being an internet bully, someone accusing you of being basically a tool used for white monopoly capital. Why they say that is because you're in essence directing your energy towards young black people that are trying to make it. So what that Casper doesn't have, you know, the money in his bank account? He's pushing, he's hustling, he's trying to make a difference. He's, you know, and you are like a counter to the progress.
No, I'm not a counter to the progress. That's where you guys get trapped in the delusions of grandeur. The fact that he doesn't have savings.
Excuse the pun, grandeur.
It's not really. It's not really a pun. Like it's the truth.
Yeah, no, it's just that I related to MacG's grandeur.
Yeah, no, that I get. That I get, and that's why it was aptly named. Because people can be delusional because of it. So you fall for that trap. I don't fall for that trap. I'm saying, at the end of the day, what I know is that the way my investments look, right? In the space of a year, he is going to fall victim to his delusions of grandeur, right? I'm certain of that. That's why I've made my aggressive move. And because I've put my position out there, right? When his comes crumbling down, it will expose me as the person who was the wiser one. Basically, I'm playing the tortoise and he's the hare. Have you heard the story of the tortoise and the hare?
I have. I have. In fact, I posted a video lately to say, with the progress that my channel is also making, literally progress is a process. And that's the analogy, the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise took his time to get and ended up winning, right? While the grandeur of the hare basically led to him just sleeping en route and thinking they'd won before actually reaching the finish line. Yeah.
And therefore it puts him in a very precarious position, as in he's in a position where he's in financial dire straits, he's desperate, he's in debt, and I've got all the security in the world, and I don't need to overcompensate for my lack of, you know, financial muscle by getting extravagant cars, or, you understand what I'm saying? And also another thing is that his audience, the people that he's targeting, the people he wants to be envious of him, are fellow artists, because they've also been in this 2-year period
of little income or low income. And when they see him going out there and splurging and buying a car, the mere fact that I can put reasonable doubt in their minds about whether he was able to attain that, for me, that's a victory, because I don't want them to fall for his trap of envy. And you must understand that although you see me targeting him, the people who are envious of him see me and rally behind me, but they can't do that publicly.
You reckon?
It's not that I reckon. You think AKA is posting pictures of Rolexes and pouring champagne on them? It's just randomly. No, he's not. He knows that Casper is not on good terms with his baby mama right now, and therefore he can't go and pour champagne on his Rolex with his baby mama and stand up to the challenge. You understand?
But here's where I want to taste you a bit, Nota, in the sense of when we speak of the issue of emotional intelligence. If you want to empower us, you want to teach us, why target the person and not the subject matter itself, so that we actually get the message that way? Why do we have to be distracted by, the infighting, the industry conflict,
the personality cults? Because
the personality
that's how you guys work.
Yeah.
That's how you guys work. I understand how you guys work. I'm not gonna speak to you in a language that you guys don't understand. You guys only follow personality cults. That is how you are. I've studied you as the market.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You understand what I'm saying? So now if I try and be overly virtuous and everything else, I'm not speaking the same language. My message is completely missed. People want a winner and a loser. They want to follow the personality cult. That's something they cannot divorce themselves from that.
Okay, let me then juxtapose the question that I was making. I hope I'm going to use the context of juxtapose better than KO. But essentially, look at personality types such as your Sizwe Dlomo, your Vusi Tembekwayo. I don't know if you know of a guy called Penyo. He calls himself now God Penyo. He used to call himself King Penyo. He has a smaller following than the likes of you, right? So maybe that's why you don't know him. But the way in which he approaches things, or the guys that I've used in the example, right? There's some tact to it, right? When they teach us and enable us and empower us, there's some approach that's thoroughly thought out, whereby when Penyo speaks, for me, the message resonates, right? He doesn't need to be overly theatrical, and even though he understands who he's talking to himself, he doesn't need to go the route of pinning himself against someone else for us to get the message. So is there really a need for you to do it like that for us to get the message? Because we want the knowledge, we want to be empowered, but are the theatrics entertaining us instead of empowering us? You get me?
No, because at the end of the day, I know that I could speak to 1 million people and only 10 will get the message. The mere fact that, my message is entertaining to the millions doesn't stop me from getting to the 10 that actually get the message and can action it. So I'm very aware that my target audience is able to see through the mess. I'm a beacon and I attract the like-minded, and the like-minded are able to discern. Just in the same way I'm able to discern. So I'm not worried about how the theatrics end up playing out. The theatrics, basically are a game I'm playing depending on the opponents that I'm playing. If I'm playing a theatrical opponent, I will out-theater him just to frustrate him. Just to say, I'm better than you at your own game. It's a mind game, But at the same time, you watched my conversation with MacG. You saw how calm, how measured I was, and everything else. That is my persona.
Even now, yeah.
Yeah, well, that is my persona. That is my persona. But also, I wasn't like MacG is not like theatrical or whatever himself, so I didn't need to meet him with that energy. But now, when you're meeting a guy like
Casper, you need to be able to make sure that he can't predict what you could do. And you know, he's a guy that goes extreme. So also when you're in a contest with him, you need to understand that he's got a big fan base, a huge following. But they will his weapon is to incite his fans on you. So when he incites his fans on me, I withstand that. I'm able to withstand the punishment. I'm able to take the insults that come at me, at my family, and everybody else. But I take those insults, right, and I turn them and I reverse them on him. And what I was able to do with him is that I was able to take all those insults that his fans have hurled at me, at my family. They called my family witches, him and Shimza and everything else. You know what I mean? Basically, I occupied his mind space so much while I was ignoring him, to the point that he was tweeting about me on New Year's Eve when he's supposed to be gigging. You know what I mean? Basically, even driving the further point home that he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing to be making an income. He's not making an income. He's having a really weak December. You know what I mean? Hitting at all the sore spots that he's got to make sure that I'll trigger him. And I attack him when it's convenient for me. I know that I've got a magazine cover that's coming out and a rollout that I need to do.
I knew it. I knew it because you know why I knew it, Nota. Because today you are picking him up, particularly in relation to the boxing thing. You know, you like your money's on him and things like that, and that's why Kerorata to play us, confuse us, and to
and why are you guys taking it personally? I'm not playing with you.
Okay, to play the game, like
no, but I'm saying I'm my contest is with him. It's between two men. You guys as observers, yes, you can have an opinion and everything else, but you're like sports commentators.
And commentate we do.
And do the players on the field hear the commentators?
Only what they need to hear.
No, they don't hear them at all.
In fact, what they choose.
You can't hear the commentators when you're on the field.
Oh, the commentators. Sorry, I thought about the crowd. I thought about the crowd. Yeah, you're right.
You can't hear them.
They can't. You're right. You're right.
You understand? During halftime, when they're doing that analysis and everything, they're not there. They're not there with the commentators watching the replays or anything else. Their contest is between the two of them.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So me, I'm focused on winning here on the pitch. As to whether
now
I played an ugly game, or I played very defensive, or I played a style of football that people didn't like, for me, it's about the results there. So for me, I just needed to prove that I was right. I needed to say, okay, fine. If we go on budgets, am I right about my bet that you're not looking financially good? And I was right. I was able to tick off a couple boxes. I was able to tick off everything that I needed to know. He told me.
Interesting. Okay, let's move away from.
Question. He volunteered the information because I knew which buttons to push.
You triggered him, yeah. Let's move away a bit from Cass because I want this to be about you. You know. So what do you think about the issue of negativity itself?
Also, I just understand. So that part of the game is over. I won my victory. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I've moved on. So you saw my posts or whatever. I'm an honest guy. You know what I mean? I'm an honest guy. I'm straightforward about my thing. So I'm not playing with anyone when I say that you don't beat Casper at his own game. That is advice to anyone who's going against Casper as someone who has been able to defeat Casper. I've never played him at his own game. I've never done that. You understand what I'm saying? And if you look at it like this, right? Casper, aka and Questa and KO were all competing around the same time.
Yeah.
But Questa was able to outsell all of them combined.
Combined?
Yeah. All of them combined. You understand what I'm saying? So Ingotu is over 50 times platinum.
Wow.
No, you need to understand that. Over 50 times platinum. Inyas Velangawa is over 100 times platinum. It's platinum so many times.
But Ingotu at least benefits, Casper.
But who does it benefit more? Who did it benefit more?
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was a song. And when we released it, we had Casper on one song, we had AK on the other song.
Yeah.
You understand?
Mm.
And we didn't put AKA on English.
Mm.
And putting Casper on English was also strategic.
I saw your post when celebrating the 6 years thing. Yeah.
It was very strategic. You know, it was a strategy as well. And nobody wanted him on that song. I am the one who made that decision because it's my record label. I can decide. You know what I mean? I made an executive decision. And obviously, if you're a quester and you've got a song like Ngutu, you want all that glory to yourself, right? The last thing you want is Casper and people saying, Casper killed you on your song, or Casper is the one who made the song pop off. You know what I mean? So even when he went to MacG and he said that whole story that no, Patrice wanted him, he knows that that's a lie. And he went out there to try and discredit me, but now he has to live with the fact that the truth itself has endurance. And his lies are going to be up there on public record for a long time, and he'll have to rewatch them. People will bring them back to him. People will ask him about, his stories, and he'll know that that is untrue. So for me, whether he tries to discredit me or whatever, that's besides the point. The truth, of the matter is the facts of the matter, And for me, at the end of the day, all I needed to do was prove my point. I've successfully proven my point. I've done that, and I defeated him at my game. You understand what I'm saying? And now I can just continue to watch him self-destruct, because Napoleon Bonaparte says, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Even him forcing to have bought that McLaren, I never ever said that he didn't buy that McLaren. I never said anything about any McLaren or that it was rented. What I spoke about was a video that I recorded last year, and I said that the Rolls Royce is rented. But if you look at every single article about this whole entire McLaren story, they quote me and say, Nota said this, Nota said this, Nota said this. And yes, I mean, all publicity is good publicity, I guess. But at the end of the day, I did not say that. I didn't say anything about the McLaren at all. There is not a quoted tweet that you can pull out and say, this guy said this car is rented. No. I spoke about his previous car, and I said that I will not believe that he has bought a car until I see proof of registered owner. And I will only congratulate him then. And I will not congratulate someone when they say they bought a house unless I see a title deed. Because the title deed then shows that you own the house, not the bank. You understand? So those are the challenges that I've set for him that he still hasn't met, and that I know he won't be able to meet. And that I know that in his personality, if he could meet those challenges, he'd meet them, because that's his personality. You understand? He's not going to have a title deed. He's not going to have a title deed hidden if he's got one. You understand? He's not going to have a registration hidden if he's got one. So for me, for the casual observer, for me, between me and him, personally, he knows that I defeated him. I blew his cover. I blew doubt into everything else. And whether it's a 50-50 or 20-80 or whatever, the mere fact that that reasonable doubt exists and it's there is a weapon against them, because when the truth does come out over time, because I know that time will reveal the truth, that little bit of doubt that I created will then be confirmed, and all the people that believed him will now be converted to the doubters.
No, I get you, but I want us to move a bit away from Casper.
I just wanted to explain that part so that you also understand that those posts that you saw now, it was, I've won the war, it's done. You understand? I defeated. By the time I started focusing on ankle tap, that's when you should have known that he's moved on from Casper now.
Which spearheads me into that next point of, what is it about the power of negativity? Because people that watch this channel need to leave empowered, I want them to know that they settled in your mind for the period of the interview, and they got a grasp of your thinking, how you apply your mind, and how your mind actually works. So using this tool of negativity as a weapon for you, what is it exactly about this tool of negativity that makes it stronger, right? What is it that makes it stronger than positivity? Why can't positivity be more effective than negativity? What's your take there?
Unfortunately, it doesn't get the emotive response that you get from making people angry. You understand? When you make people happy, they don't post and say, "Oh, you made me happy." And when you make people angry, they post and tell you how angry they are. You understand? People never call the customer care line to say, "Hey, I got good service."
Facts.
But let them get bad service, they'll be blowing up that customer care line. You know what I mean? People never come, "Oh, a suggestion box." There is nothing about the suggestion box. No one suggests something because they're happy.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's a
for
good
me,
analogy.
I don't try to change human behavior. I accept it for what it is, and then I use that for my own for my own gains, for my own ends. And I'm not naive enough to think that I have got this God-ordained power to actually make people behave differently. No. I accept them as they are, and I adapt. But at the end of the day, I know within myself, internally, you know, what my character is, where I draw the line and everything else. So I'm in complete control. So if I make you angry, I'm in control of you. I'm in control of your anger. You're as angry as I make you. I can make you more angrier, or I can retreat and say, "Okay, fine, I apologize, cool things down." But I'm in control of your emotions. But at the same time, I'm also in control of my emotions. You understand? And
I get
you. And that's all it is. You know, you're not going to change people's behavior.
But now, what empowered you to becoming the Nota that you are? It's not negativity, right? It's more of a positive upbringing. You said you are your dad's son, you know? It's that positive upbringing that shaped and molded you. It's not necessarily a negative one. I know that a negative background can also push a person to become better, right? But is the power of positivity that rests there? What do you think about that?
There's no power in positivity at all. Like
there's a whole book written, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale.
Yeah, it's a that's when you're naive. The world is not about being positive. In the world, people want to cut ahead of each other in traffic. People want to be better than each other. Your best friend, as soon as you get a promotion, he gets envious of you. He might congratulate you, but he's jealous that you're earning more than him. You know what I mean? Maybe you can take your girlfriend on a better holiday than he can take his girlfriend. And then his girlfriend then is envious of the pictures that your girlfriend is posting on Instagram. No one is ever happy for you. And people have got this delusion that other people are happy for them. Not even your own siblings are happy for you. I'm one of 3 siblings. Me and my siblings fought all the time. We competed all the time for our parents' attention and everything else. When I go out into the world, I don't think that it's different. I know I internalize what I learned growing up. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, there can only be one bull in the crowd. You know, as much as I love my father, you know, if it had to come to it, I'd kill him to take control of my family.
In primitive times, you mean, like back in the day,
no.
when people
no,
used
no, no.
to
I don't have to physically kill him. I can emasculate him.
Pride,
I can become richer than him. I can become more successful than him. And then all of a sudden, people listen to me and not him. And what does that do? That takes him away from the role of leader of the family. Right?
I like how your mind works, man.
And that's the way one needs to see it. I mean, like, for me, let me put it to you like this. I was not on speaking terms with my dad until he saw me on SABC 1 when we won 6 summers. Because he didn't believe in what I wanted to do with my life. But trust me, had I been on speaking terms with him, had he been nice to me the entire time, I would have never been on that stage to win those awards. I needed to prove him wrong. And I stopped at nothing.
So that was your motivation. So there was a negative...
No, it wasn't really motivation. Yeah, it was driving me. It was driving me. But at the end of the day, I knew that for me to become the man of the house, I need to have bigger feet than his shoes.
I actually watched that interview with Ria and Black Steph, where your dad was there after that whole black coffee situation. That was basically my first exposure to your dad. And I almost felt like you were overpowering his voice for much of that interview.
Oh, I succeeded him.
I'm now the man of the house.
So does that mean that you feel positivity has no place at all in the world?
No, I feel like you must be naive to believe that it can get you anything good. No one who's ever ascended to greatness has done so by pleasing everybody.
Yeah,
Nobody.
that's a fact. That's a fact.
You understand? Germany is the most powerful economy in Europe right now. And they've got Adolf Hitler to thank for that.
Mm. 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 Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, however you want to look at it, Hitler made the ultimate sacrifice and Germany is now on top of Europe. Even though they didn't have the power of having as big an empire as Great Britain. After the Second World War, Great Britain was then succeeded by the United States of America.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
At the end of the day, the Chinese people made the ultimate sacrifice. They sacrificed their own people, you know, and their own people as cheap labor so they could supply the world with products. And now they've got the biggest economy in the world. It's 2.5 times bigger than the American economy. Although their GDP per capita is 6 times smaller than America's GDP per capita. GDP per capita in the United States is $60,000. In China, it's $10,000.
And that's likely also the population, the 1.4
That's
billion
what per capita.
versus,
That's per capita versus 300
close to 400
million.
million. Yeah.
Yeah, 340 million. It's less than 400 million even. And also, you know, just the mere fact that they were willing to play the long game, they were willing to make that ultimate sacrifice. They made that sacrifice when the youth of China protested in Tiananmen Square in 1989. 1990, the same time where Mandela was released. South Africa did not make the sacrifices. And that's why we're finding ourselves at the end of our cycle in terms of the prosperity that was promised to us in the 90s. And now we're on the precipice of the destruction of the Rainbow Nation and bordering on an unled revolution. You know, the curtain is closing on the ANC and they've lost their moral authority.
Okay, jumping now into the realm of politics, what do you think is the future of SA? Is politics really relevant, or are they just puppets, as Peniel says in one of these videos?
Yeah, no, it's really relevant. It's all a battle, and a lot of people decide to be spectators. I'm not a spectator, you know. I play my part within my own field. And I know how influential arts and culture is in winning over the hearts and minds of people. So I'm placing a bet that if I can put myself in the most prominent position in the arts and culture sphere in South Africa, I will have significant political influence to be able to mitigate whatever is the negative fallout of the collapse of the ANC-led government. Because I will be in a position where I actually can influence things. I'm not being dictated to by the circumstances. Whereas other people choose to leave it up to Julius Malema to decide what their future is, or Herman Mashaba. I take that into my own hands. And by so doing, you know, some people go out and become billionaires in business, like Patrice Motsepe, and then are able to then influence politics in there. I had a path that led me in the arts and culture sphere. And that's where I will have my power.
But it's also said that Patrice himself is a puppet of sorts because of how he accumulated the wealth, how, you know, the white guys who are in power used them as a tool, along with Cyril, Jeff Radebe, those linkages with those arranged marriages and the like. So, are you do you feel still comfortable with using him as your example?
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't care what people say about him. because I know the truth. You know, at the end of the day,
is the truth beyond us hearing about it, or is it something you can share?
The truth of the matter is that no one becomes successful in a silo or by themselves. You understand? You don't become a billionaire without knowing a couple of billionaires. You know? That's it. And therefore, these people and the way the money works and the way it operates within a circle of people. And they share power amongst each other so that they can gain more power, because the only way to gain power is to give it to others. You understand?
Yeah, so, I do get you.
So they are very powerful people, despite what people might say about them or their criticisms of them. Those are very powerful people. And for me, as someone who aspires to power, I need to understand how they move. You understand? I need to speak their language so that I can also get the nuance of what they're saying with their bodies, with their gestures, with their expressions, and also what they're saying by not saying things.
Would you say then that leads you a bit into what Saul said, that you are a privileged individual and sometimes that's why you say certain things to suit a particular narrative, particularly when it comes to the employment situation of the drip, but and your stance that you had on that?
No.
Would you say you are a privileged somebody, and hence you can talk about those circles of the wealth that we've just spoken about?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that. I would say that is a comment that comes from someone who feels inferior. It's a comment from someone who feels challenged by me. And I understand why they would say that. You know, it's the easiest thing to go at me for, to say, oh, I'm privileged. I did not grow up in Bryanston. My parents were, you know, super indebted, over indebted for the longest time. You know, I did not grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. We worked for everything that we had. I went to a good school because my brains got me into that school. They didn't demand the fees. They said my parents must pay whatever they can afford. Whereas everybody else had to pay full school fees. So he doesn't know me or know me that well, you know, or well enough to say those things. But obviously those are the things that will get out there because I've given people the impression to make them think that maybe I'm just a cheese boy or anything else. But, you know, at the end of the day, there's a reason why my dad was sitting beside me quietly.
And what's the point that I wanted to make? You conceded, though. I remember on Twitter, or was it during the live chats of the episode or what? But you conceded to say, "Hey, Saul, I apologize." What was that in relation to then? If not you seeing him as correct? And I think it was a tweet.
I just explained why. So I was having a conversation with someone who's obviously answering me back from a point of feeling inferior. So for me, if I win this argument, I lose the friend.
Which is more important to you, the relationship?
And therefore, I'm willing to eat humble pie on Twitter and concede.
And then your relationship with other artists in the industry, why isn't that humble pie situation also being used? Is it because you don't want to build future relationships and networks with them?
With who?
With some of the people that you've gone up against, your Shimzas, your Caspers, well, I know with Makwa, you guys mended
so
things.
what is the potential? What potential does Shimza have?
You said politics is important, and according to I'm
just saying, but what potential does he have in terms of musicality and everything else? He's not talented. He's not someone that there's any value in.
Same thing I can say about a Black Coffee. He's not musically talented, you know. So there is nothing there for me to gain from a relationship with him. The guys who are talented, who are making the music, are the guys who are in the bedroom studio zekas, who are not famous. And trust you me, I spend time with them. I go to them. No problem now. You understand? That's the relationships I'm building. You understand?
But isn't it the same as saying?
But there's the growth potential
what?
there. There's no point in investing in a product that's past its sell by date.
Okay, because now I was going to say,
also you must also see their role. They're gatekeepers, and their role as gatekeepers is kept out all these young aspiring artists. So if I'm able to eliminate them from their positions as gatekeepers, I open up the gates so that all these young kids can rise up. So in the same way that Coffee will keep his role back as a gatekeeper, and he'll say, I'm not going to come back to the country. I'm actually just a twerker. You understand what I'm saying? So the young kids are looking at him and like, how this is supposed to be our footman. He's supposed to be encouraging us, but he's bringing us down at every chance he gets. And when I go at him, those people who see Coffee as someone who's bringing them down every chance he gets, see me as their hero.
So in a way that good-hearted bad guy analogy that I used, it fits in with the example that you've just made, where you are a bad guy to others to achieve a particular end. And then looking at people that can potentially become your proteges, like your Ria Khopanes, your Slick Talks. What role do you see them playing? Because I know you influence them a lot. You can hear it in what they say, even what they say about you, particularly.
But I influence everybody.
But they put it out there, and they have the platforms to put it out there. So what do you see with the influence that you put specifically in the likes of your Slick Talk and your Ria Khopanes? Because this thing of negativity and how people will always see the negative, right? The Slick Talk video, currently, when I checked the analytics of your video, like when I check your video, in the first 15 hours, it was ranked number 1, meaning for the first 15 hours, any other video I've posted hadn't even come close, right? But as things stand now, Slick Talk's video is the one that ranks number 1 over now the duration since I published your video, right? So the issue of people clicking on that Slick Talk video and the way in which I lured them with that thumbnail to say Slick Talk is a genius, right? Everything I say is positive and a learning curve, but people are still able to comment negatively in the comments just because of the person I'm talking about, right? Hence, even you, there's negative connotations around you because it's you. So what is it about you on a title, on a thumbnail that triggers people into that negative space?
Yeah, it's because obviously I've known how to get an emotional reaction out of people. And so if you put an air of superiority around yourself, and just the thought of you makes people feel like you're looking down on them or you look lesser than, that's going to get that reaction out of them. But to people who see themselves, who've got self-confidence, that's actually my only target market. I only speak to those people who've actually got the self-confidence to actually withstand what I'm saying. Because those who've got that self-confidence are able to see through it. It's like people who are offended by Kanye West. I'm inspired by Kanye West because I've got the self-confidence to actually cut through the BS. You understand? And actually see what, and that's why it's guys like him drive me. You know what I mean? It's like Elon Musk. A guy like him drives me because I've got the confidence to understand, even though people are doubting you, the more people that doubt you, the better it is when you prove them all wrong. You know? And people doubted him, they laughed at him. If you watch CNBC, you would never buy shares in Tesla. Because the way CNBC talks about Elon Musk and Tesla, they always say, they're not even making that many cars. This whole entire stock price is like a whole bubble. It's going to crash. And investors are going to lose a lot of money in this. He's got the most valuable car company in the world.
Yeah, Tom Nash actually is there's some YouTuber, Tom Nash, who posts a lot about Tesla's progress and the number of cars they make in a quarter, how many of them actually sell, and the likes, you know. So you are happy with these guys being your proteges?
For me, everyone that's in the media space right now in South Africa is going to be my protege. Just in the same way, if you watch Focalistic when he performs and you see him and his DJ, you can see that they got that from me and Questa. You understand? And
okay,
yeah, the DJ hype man, where the DJ is out there animated, controlling the crowd and doing what a DJ is supposed to do, actually controlling the crowd. Whereas the rapper is there on the mic rapping. You understand what I'm saying? So they get that from me, because that's the whole entire thing. It's a whole entire show. To have a whole entire synchronized show where all of you are moving, not just the DJ who's just there to press play or whatever, So they weren't able to copy that while I was still doing it, because they felt like it would look like they're copying me. And once I removed myself from doing that, they were then free to copy it, to innovate, to make it better, improve upon it. And that's what they are able to successfully. And for me, I played my role. I completed my art. You know what I mean? From starting to finishing. You know what I mean? And I'm satisfied once I've accomplished something to move on to something else. I don't now try and hold on to that victory for so long that I end up nullifying it.
So do you think you rest a lot on your laurels? Do you think you focus too much on what you have achieved in the past, and that's what also may influence the number of people you influence in the present? Because, for example, that venture capitalist avenue that you are on now, there isn't that much out there compared to what you've actually done, what you've done as a radio executive.
I never speak about what I'm doing while I'm doing
it. Part of your master plan.
I never speak about what I'm doing while I'm doing it. No, it's just that. So I can tell stories about what I've done because I'm off that right now. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do to discourage me from doing those things because I've done them.
So you're protecting your energy. You're protecting your energy.
I'm protecting my focus. And also, I can get you to focus on the things that I've done and not inquire about what I'm doing right now. Or inquire, but not overt. Say, we see that you've done A, B, C, D. We want to know what you're doing now.
But where do you find the time, Nota? I mean, you always on the socials, bruv. You always are trolling a lot of the comments. Obviously, as that sobering podcast clip that I use, for example, where you refer to yourself as the engagement god. You always have time to engage, but at the same time, you're doing so much. How can people learn something about the utilization of time around that when it comes to how you do things and manage your time?
So my job is to make decisions. That is it. To be able to make decisions, I need to have access to as much information as possible. So I spend most of my time gathering information so that when I make a decision, it's the best possible decision I can make. I can't say it's the right decision because there's no such thing, but it's the best possible decision I can make with the information available to me. And that's it. So I don't have to do the groundwork that I allow other people to do, and I can make them play off against each other, can make them compete against each other to see who will be the best at doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Or at doing what they're doing. Let's say two rappers. I put two rappers in the studio. The reason I put two rappers in the studio is so they can compete against each other to impress me.
So and also to bring out the best. To also bring out the best. Yeah.
You understand? And then I take the best of what they have. Then my job is just to decide which works best. You understand what I'm saying? I put another producer in the studio with Makwa, so that Makwa now needs to compete against this guy. I won't tell them that,
but they are. And that raises both their game. You know what I mean? It's the same way Dame Dash puts Just Blaze and Kanye West against each other. And what did they get out of it? Got Jay-Z's Blueprints, his best album. You know what I mean? And that's it.
Okay. I don't want to take up more of your time, but I do have just a few more questions, right? I've seen you start some things and almost let them fall away before you've gone really far with them. I'll give you an example. You started that, speaking of pinning people against each other. There was a time when you were pinning rappers against one another and you were running some competition. You wanted to fund them. Maybe enlighten me on what happened to that. And also that everybody...
show?
Yeah, and also that everybody hates Nota as well.
That's still going on. It's still happening.
So both of them are still happening.
Yeah, everybody hates Nota as a book.
Is it?
It's a book
that's been written and you're gonna publish, or just
it's a book.
It has a final
I'm
chapter.
working on. It's a book that I'm working on.
Okay.
Right now is the final chapter of it. You know what I mean?
You heard it here first, guys.
No, I've already announced it everywhere. I already announced it there. Yeah, but people have missed it. But maybe they heard it here first. So a lot of people are going to be watching this channel. They're going to be hearing it first. But the whole entire point was to write a book. But how do I market that book? How do I make it a book that people want to read? You know what I mean? So out of all the questions that people have, if you get into the book, it gives you the detail. It breaks it down, every single thing. And that's where the juice comes about. But imagine, who am I to just write a book if no one knows me?
Facts. You need an audience. You need a market.
So I've been working on building that. I've been building that. And it's
so that's your brand identity. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And that's that. And then once that is culminated, I do my book tour. And then, I speak about the book, and then it comes full circle.
Do you know whereabout when you're looking to publish the book?
It's all about timing. So possibly I'm looking at early 2023.
Okay. So if
there's the ANC conference.
So if there's a row guys around Nota during that time, then something big is coming, and it may be the book itself, right? Because that's your plan. That's how it works. Ushapa row nyana, and then ushapa a mosaic magazine car. I understand. So this is about ushapa row nyana, and then ushapa ka your book, right? And the reason I'm asking,
people don't even tell. I say these things. I told people, I was like, yo, I created an open letter against 5FM.
Yeah.
And then what did that lead to? It led to interviews on every single SABC radio station, which led to promoting for the Networth Awards, which we ended up winning. I gave you my whole entire plan and everything else. And I do the same thing over and over again, and people never catch it.
And you said you have...
Their behavior never changes. They can't pick it up because they're triggered, and they react emotionally. None of them actually step back and says, hey, we've seen this guy do this before. They're so caught in that emotion of their anger in that moment that I own them.
They don't catch on, eh? Fascinating, eh? You said you've gone through my channel and seen some of the things I'm doing, right? And one of the things that I do is like book reviews. So that's why I'm enticed when you're telling me that you are going to release a book, right? Because then, one of the to read it, and then I'll have an opinion around that particular book, right? So far, I've done like 4, and so far I've only chosen positive books to review. In other words, books that were positive into my viewpoint of whatever the genre of the book was, right? And now it leads me to a point of how we started this interview, where I said,
yo,
I Nota, I know something happened via my my network, but yeah, so I was just pointing out to say, Oti, it almost then says that what you say about positivity and negativity is true. I did 4 positive, good book reviews, but only one person actually shared it and wanted to make sure that it's out there. The other people, because they don't know who I am, or for whatever reason, they're not pushing it. But if I had worked on it being a negative one, it would be out there. It would have more views, it would have more impact. But that's not obviously the direction of this channel. So do you
Well, I mean,
sometimes?
look, at the end of the day, the direction of your channel is one thing, but the algorithm is your God.
Yeah.
The algorithm is your God. So if you're trying to get out there and you're trying to direct the algorithm, you're gonna lose. Don't fight the algorithm. It's like fighting the tide.
That's actually true. So do you think sometimes you take it too far? Because in the video, I also mentioned that Yanga and AKA interview on the Bryce show, where AKA was asking Yanga to say, do you sometimes think that he takes it too far with his theatrics, with how you are playing the game?
Who was asking him?
Keenan.
The guy who's taking it too far for how long?
Yeah, but now I want to know about you. Do you think you take it too far?
No, there's no way I can think that, because obviously I'm strategic. And so if it's part of my strategy, I can't be taking it too far because it's part of my strategy.
I got you. I have
another espresso. I'm not trying to sleep tonight.
Now tell me something then, Nota. Before maybe the parting shot, right? You said you've probably spent close to 100K on lawyers. Isn't that now? Yes, you building a brand.
That was then.
Yeah, which isn't that long time ago. When you were on Rian Blackstepp's podcast, you did say that you've spent close to 100K on lawyers. Are you saying
I'm saying
now
that was then.
more?
I'm saying, probably more than double that.
More than double?
Yeah.
But now, wouldn't that money have done more good? Wouldn't that money have served a much bigger purpose? Particularly, you are into empowering. So why spend so much money on attorneys, bro?
Have you ever had 100K to spend?
To just spend myself? I have, yes, I have.
Just to spend anyhow?
Not anyhow. It always had a purpose. It always had a purpose.
That's the thing. So like, you're asking me this question, but for me, I've got $250,000 rand that is in one investment account. I've got millions of rands in other investments. For me, that is money that I'm spending on something you call lawfare. Apple, all the biggest companies in the world, all of them, they all have lawsuits against them for patents and everything else. So it's part of the course.
So it's a line item for you.
You understand what I'm saying? And that's the way I explained it. I set aside money, a budget, for my legal fees. More important, on the song by Jay-Z, on the Blueprint, which is the album that taught me everything about business. It was like my MBA. I've got an MBA in Jay-Z. I've got an MBA in Kanye West. I've got an MBA in Nas. It says, more important is lawyer fees.
Is it?
That's how it is now. That's how it will always be. I never change. This is always me. Listen to Never Change by Jay-Z on Blueprint. More important is lawyer fees. If anything, you need to have money set aside for lawyer fees. If you hear Jay-Z 9 problems, plus I got a few dollars, I could fight the case. I speak about, in my Motsepe interview, I say, me and Black Coffee could go toe to toe on who can pay the cops.
The cops, yeah.
I've got, you understand? So that's it. It's like he wanted to see something, and I said, I can match up to the challenge. And therefore he knows he can't use that weapon against me.
So what's your net worth? What's your current net worth?
I don't know. I don't know, but
Nota, guy as informed as you doesn't know what their net worth is.
Yeah, because I own a lot of intellectual
unless if it fluctuates.
I own a lot of intellectual property, which is very difficult to value. You understand? Unless I actually go out and get an appraisal for it, or valuation. So that also contributes to my net worth. But I mean, my estate, my will, is in excess of $1 million. So in South African terms, anyone who's got a net worth of over $1 million is considered a high net worth individual. Yeah, and that's based on the assets that I own, the businesses that I own. But in terms of like my intellectual property, my publishing, my the copyrights that I own, I'll only know the value of those when I try to sell them.
Okay, last question. Because now I remember Uncle Tech was basically pointing out the issue that you say you want to educate young people around issues of finances and so on, right? Tell us why you choose to live such a simple life, even though you have this net worth of $1 million.
That's exactly why.
What's the
example? That's the lesson. The lesson is that over time you'll watch people who look like they've got more money than me go up and down, go up and down, go up and down, and fall off. And over the long run, the truth is that people will then learn that actually, had I done it the way Nota does it, I'd be in a better position right now. So all I'm doing is role modeling. And those who follow, they will benefit from that. And those who don't, they will learn the folly of their ways, the hard way.
Nice. And then one last question. You said you don't.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Basically, what I wanted to ask as a last question now is.
So I was just saying, like, when it comes to that whole entire ankle tap thing, it's like, at the end of the day, he was one of the people that were coming to Casper's defense. And what happened is that then it was revealed through, I posted my numbers up on the timeline, and one of his haters then revealed the story to me that, he had slept with his co-hosts and they had a fallout and everything else, you know what I mean? And that's the dirt that ended up on his name. And basically, what I was able to do in that instance is like isolate Casper. Anyone that came and tried to stand up for him, I neutralized them. Pearl Tusi came out as well. I was able to neutralize her as well.
The art of war.
You understand? And therefore I was able to isolate my enemy. And also all of those who tried to assist him, they could see that they will end up, facing the ire of my wrath. And when people was like, yeah, but it looks like he's firing shots at everybody. No, I'm firing shots so that anyone that wants to aid this person that I'm isolating sees that it will do more harm to them to intervene. So let them rather just stay out of it. You understand what I'm saying? And that's how I was able to isolate him. And because I was able to isolate him and everything else, no one was able to come to his defense. You know what I mean? But then you look at the same thing happens with Patrick Shy. Patrick Shy then comes out, he swears at it, whatever, and then it becomes a whole entire, and then he's able to take the ascendancy in that position. But I'm out of it now. I've won my victory.
But what's your take around the whole my time and the incident?
The time I just misread the situation. And then Casper was able to use that to make himself look like the victim, which is what he always does. He always makes himself look like the victim. And yeah, kudos to him. You know what I mean? For me, I've taken my victory. I've won. I've defeated him in the game that I was playing against him, in the mano a mano game. As to what the people or the spectators think about it, they say our Chiefs played better, but Pirates won the game. That the fans can debate for 10 years after this about who they think won. But it was decided on the field at the end of the day. And now everybody else coming for him and everything else thinking that they can come for him, those are results of what I was able to do. They saw me succeed, and therefore they thought, okay, let me take a shot. And he was able to cleverly twist it
on this old man, you know, and use sympathy. Like, why is this old man coming at me? Even though everybody knows that, you know, when you say son of a bitch, you're not actually swearing at someone's mother.
Yeah, that's true. And being a hip hop artist, he knew very well what was happening. But now with the way it's taken and the way it's gone, then obviously from a non-hip hop standpoint, then it's not a good look at all, of course.
Yeah, but either way, you know what I mean? For him, he was just he managed to announce the dates for his fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all that matters. Is that okay? Now we know when the date for the fight is, the announcement is there, and everything else. And obviously, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be watching it like a spectator.
Now that's super. I wanted to get to that last question, right? You're having like your second espresso since this interview started. I want to speak about now the balance of life, right? We're talking now health. We're talking now sleeping enough. You know, Kid X with his meditation, being self-conscious, being self-aware, and prioritizing family time. All those elements. How do you navigate around that? Because you said now, why this espresso? Because you don't want to sleep, right?
No, I was just saying that. I was saying that because obviously the waiters are going to be like, hey, you're not going to be able to sleep tonight. So obviously I'm very familiar with the waiters at this restaurant. So we joke. That was just a joke to them. Like, yeah, I don't want to sleep tonight. Because obviously they're going to be like, hey, another one. You don't want to sleep tonight. No, I was preempting their joke.
Okay. Yeah. Now the essence or the crux of the question, how would you like to address that? The balancing.
So there is no balance.
There is no balance?
Anyone who tells you about this, there's a work-life balance, there is no balance. No one actually
has a balance. I tell people about that all the time.
Yeah, so at certain times, you need to dedicate yourself to something. You know, if you want to work,
blocking.
That's it. There's no such thing as balance, because it's always an opportunity cost. You take time from something else to give it to something else, because time is a limited resource. There's no way you can ever have a balanced time. You need to make sacrifices, and you need to be honest with yourself. What are you willing to sacrifice? What is a priority to you at that point in time? You know, I've sacrificed having kids. Why? Because I'm not willing to have kids that are going to be raised by a television or a handset or a device. I'm not willing.
So is this a permanent sacrifice, or is it
no? It's not a permanent sacrifice. I don't have the time right now. If I had kids right now, I'd be pacifying them with a phone. I'd give them an iPad to do. I don't want to do that to my kids. I've observed other people who have kids when they're not ready, and you can see the lives that they live. They've got baby mama drama. They've got all these types of things.
You actually posted that on Twitter today, in response to Ntsiki's tweet, right?
Yeah, and they've got all these problems.
I prepared for this interview.
Yeah, no, but they've got all those issues. I don't. Why? Because I want to plan my family. You understand? I'm already married. Nothing's stopping me from having a kid. You know? Except
family planning.
No, I want to be a stay-at-home dad. When my kids are born, I want to make sure that I've got nothing else to do but raise them. Because for me, that is very important. That is something I never had as a child. My dad always had to balance between spending time with his kids and educating them and being out there at work. So I never got to know my dad personally. You understand? The only time I got to spend with him was the 12 years of each and every single morning that he dropped me off at school. And it was such a routine for him that even on days when I wasn't going to school, he'd drive to my school only to find that I'm not in the car. But a lot of those times I was sleepy, tired. I didn't really make use of that time because, you know, although we had many conversations and we spoke and I got to know him better through driving in traffic and everything else, you know, I missed having him when he's calm. When he's driving in traffic, he's hyper aware. You know, he's very temperamental. Obviously, when you're driving in traffic, you need to be hyper aware. You're on edge the entire time until you get to where you're going. Because it's a very risky time. You can die in traffic. You know what I mean? And so I never got to, you know, just chill with my dad and stuff like that. I don't want my kids to have that same experience. And that's why I've worked so hard to buy myself that time. I've sacrificed the time now so that I can have it in future, where I've taken care of my money issues that I need to survive. You know, so those are the things that are priority to me. My first thing was to ensure that I've got a passive income by the time I'm 30 years old. I was able to achieve that. Now I've got a passive income, which means that I don't need to work every day. I don't need to get up out of bed to work to pay my bills, which gives me time to think, which gives me time to plan, which gives me time to invest. You know what I mean? I've got options because I'm not in a rat race. And also, to keep myself out of the rat race, I did not attach myself to things that would keep me in the rat race. Like a lot of people, they go out and get a mortgage, a bond. That keeps you in the rat race. You can't quit your job now because you've got a 15-year, 25-year loan that you need to pay. You can't quit your job because you've got a car installment to pay. And now your boss disrespects you. And you need to accept that. And you need to be miserable at your job each and every single day because you're there because you need to be there, not because you want to be there. And what type of employee does that make you? Doesn't make you the best employee. Doesn't make you the most, you know. And so I sacrificed having all the nice things and looking cool when all my peers were doing that. And now I've got investments, I've got savings, I've got passive income. And while they're fighting for their survival, I'm actually now looking at how I generate wealth for my grandchildren to inherit. I can think about how I want to raise my kids. I think about how I want to educate them. It's not something that I now need to think about because there's a child coming or there's a child here already. And that's something that as young Black people, we don't see many people doing. We don't see many examples of that. We don't see many role models like that. My parents have got no grandkids.
Really? So even your other two siblings, same thing?
None of us have kids. Why? Because we were raised where our parents were in the rat race so much. We don't want that for our kids. You know, my sister's 37 years old, no kids. Not under pressure to have kids. She can freeze her eggs. She can have kids when she's 45. You understand? My younger brother is 30 years old. You know, I, as his older brother, have not had children or anything else. I got married. Now he's planning to get married to his girlfriend. He wants to do the right thing because the example that has been set at home is this is how we do things. You don't go out there, have kids, and then now need to have a shotgun marriage.
No, that's nice.
The destruction that sort of lifestyle has done to the Black community, having fathers not in the household. Imagine how many families have been destroyed because of that, and how many kids are growing up with defects because of that. They haven't had their father in their household. And the fact that we've destroyed the family as something to aspire to. If you look at celebrities, you look at the Somizis of this world, you look at all of them, they're having these glamorous weddings and then divorces, and it crashes. But look at a guy like Kabelo Mabalani.
He's a good example, man.
And you understand? That's my role model. You understand? But we don't see many of those.
Yeah, particularly in the industry that you're in, eh?
Especially Black males. You don't see that. You understand? That man has time for his kids. You know, he has time to raise his family. He has time for, and that's what I want. And that's what I want people to aspire to as well. You understand?
Nah,
look at the artists I've worked with. Questa, he's got his second baby now. He's married. You understand? He's got his household. That's something that he didn't have as a child growing up. But something that he envied in me because he saw how it benefited my life to live like that. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why he's trying to build that. You understand? So I'm a role model for him. You look at a guy like Kid X, another artist I worked very closely with. He had that at home. He had his father, his mother, and everything else, all in one home and everything else. And that's what he's building for his own family. Because both Kid X and I had the benefit of having our fathers with us the whole entire time to guide us. And that's why Kid X and I are close friends. And we don't envy each other. I don't see him doing well and say, hey, I need to do better than that. Or you understand what I'm saying? Whereas a guy like a Questa, where he didn't have that father role or didn't see his father and their friends and those relationships and see that if they envy each other, it will destroy their relationship going forward. You know, he was more prone to being envious. You know, and not knowing that envy is something you can use in a positive light. I can envy someone and try to emulate them, or I can envy someone and try to be better than them. You know,
that's going to be my soundbite. That's going to be my intro. I can envy someone and try to emulate them, or I can envy someone and try to defeat them or be against them.
That's the thing. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? And what do you gain from trying to defeat? You lose the friend. You lose the person that you admired. You lose the person that you envied because of positive things. Whereas if you look at, and that's the thing, it's like I had a fallout with someone I considered a friend, younger, Chief. I had a fallout with him because of the whole entire Stogiti incident and everything else. Where, you know, throughout our entire relationship, you know, for me, I'd always been a friend to him. You know, for him, I was his competition, unbeknownst to me. So, in as much as we stayed in the same apartment, right, where I was the only one able to actually pay the rent. So he was staying in my apartment, but because he's the guy who's the star or perceived as the star, I would let him have the ensuite bedroom, so that, you know, for the look, because I understand how much it mattered to him. It didn't matter to me at all. You understand? I'm paying to keep a roof over our heads. That's all I care about, that we've got a roof over our heads. And I'm doing that so that you can go out there without having to worry about, you know, having a roof over your head, and you can be creative and you can go out there and feel and make something of yourself. And you being successful takes nothing away from me. But as soon as, you know, times got tough and it looked like what he was doing was not as successful as the path that I charted for myself, that's where the envy came in, you know, and he became envious, and that altered our relationship. And you understand, instead of him now actually seeing himself as someone who can grow with me and we can help each other all the way up until, you know, our dying days, he now needed to at some point prove that he's better than me, or, you know, he's moving, you know, which for me, are you still there?
I lost you a bit for a few seconds there. I lost you a bit there.
Okay, so
but are you guys okay now?
No, for me, it's like this. If you and I have a certain fallout because of a character flaw that you have, I'm willing to accept that you won't change. So I need to either keep you around so you can continue to envy me and then plot my downfall and then betray me, or I can eliminate you right now when I see this is the type of person you are, and then I disassociate myself, and then that's fine, and then I don't give you an opportunity to, you know, to bring me down.
So you guys didn't mend things after the story thing?
I never do that, because once someone has shown you who they are, they're not going to change. You understand?
But you mended things with Makwa.
No. I never had an issue with Makwa.
It's on Instagram on a live.
Yes, I had an issue with his addiction. I had an issue with his addiction. He was addicted to antidepressants, and I went and intervened.
Hey, she takes me back to what Lerato Khanyako said about the approach, the tact. You know, it could have been done better. It could have been handled better, because addiction is a serious thing. Addiction is like a serious
you don't know
thing,
him.
man.
You don't know that person. You understand what I'm saying? And also, you are watching something on a video. You don't know that I actually went to his house to actually have a conversation with him. He's the one that ended up putting it on live. You understand? I did not go. That's on his live. That's on his iPad. He's the one who did that, because, you know, he didn't like where the conversation was going. So for me, I was having an intervention with him because, you know, the antidepressants were getting to him. And then what happened? No one ever speaks about the fact that he came out and said and apologized to me, number one, and thanked me and said that he's quit taking this lean and stop taking these antidepressants.
I spoke about it in my video of you.
No, I'm just saying no one. In general, like no one speaks about it. No one says that. But again, that was like tough love. That was internal. So to people who saw that approach, they saw what he wanted them to see, which makes me look like I'm a crazy lunatic. But at the end of the day, the same crazy lunatic is the same one that you thank when you're off your things. And also another thing that people don't understand is that he was being lied to. You understand? He was being made to believe things that were untrue about me, because I'm an honest person. I don't lie. I'm straightforward. As he always said, I'm straightforward. That's one thing he's always respected about me. So people would tell him things and sow doubt in his mind so that he couldn't see what they were doing to him. They were actually trying to screw him over the entire time. They were trying to screw him over. He speaks on another podcast where he talks about how I arranged a job for him and someone gave him 60,000 rands, which I arranged for him, and how he spent that and everything else. I did that because he was about to have a baby.
On the Sobering podcast, I saw that.
He was about to have a baby, a second baby. And he, actually his baby had just been born or something like that, and he had no means whatsoever, and when he had no one to turn to, I was there to provide for him. But if you listen to how he speaks about me, and you listen to how he speaks about everybody else who tried to take from him, the person who cut off his car insurance, or the person who, connived against him and everything else, the way he speaks about me, you can tell that this guy was saying all those things because they told him to say those things. And you could tell that he was saying all those things because they threatened, they dangled the carrot. They say, no, we're going to stop paying for this car. We're going to stop paying for the car installments. Go and say these things about this guy. So it's being used. And that's why I went to his house to actually say, who told you all these things? That's what I was asking. Who is saying all these things? I was asking him, who is plotting these things?
But I think I get the gist of it, because you're someone that I can literally talk to until my battery dies, right? So I actually want to close it off here. Super. You must enjoy your meeting. I actually want to close it off here by saying thank you so much, Nota. I know that this interview will basically elevate my platform, because I wanted to attend things in a different light, right? In a way in which we speak about real issues that speak to the content that I want on this platform, so that when the person comes, it's not about gossip. It's not about all the things that happen in the forefront on the social media, because we all know that people are allergic to the truth, right? And platforms like these, particularly YouTube, it's educational. It affords us the opportunity to find out the truth from a different perspective. It allows people to tell their own story. So I thank you for that. And I want to give you maybe 2-3 minutes. What's your parting shot? What would you like my audience to take away from this from this interview? is the guy you're meeting already there?
Subscribe to the channel, follow the content. This is a journey. And if you're one of the early investors, right, you'll be able to celebrate with us once we get to the top. Look at the journey of like a guy like Podcasting Show with MacG. I'm one of the early investors in that. Before anyone believed, before he had 5,000 subscribers on his channel, I was there telling him that you're going to be the next to get 100,000. I took him to Questa's plaque presentation when Questa got his 100,000 subscribers, and I said, you are next. And I'm not just saying that, I'm going to show you how to get there. I'm going to hold your hand all the way there. I'm investing in you. So anyone who's watching this, invest in this channel right now, and you'll be able to earn the dividends once, we surpass 10,000 subscribers, 20,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers.
And I received,
you would have been part of this channel. You understand? Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. And I hope that people will be able to critically analyze what they're seeing in the social media simulation.
That's important.
You know, because I've been able to use my understanding of social media to make myself wealthy generationally. I've got something to leave for my grandkids. You know, I was able to give my mother her first million, not my first paycheck, and there's a big difference.
Massive difference. Now, thanks so much, Nota, and to everybody listening. Thank you for sticking around until this far. You heard the man. You heard him. He said subscribe, he said like, but most importantly, he said critically analyze what happens in the social media simulation. Because the people that are pulling the strings, it's like your Notas. It's like your Mark Zuckerbergs. It's like, I can even say to a large extent, Kanye controls his narrative despite what people say about Mr. West. So follow Nota's journey and don't just take things superficially or on the surface. But definitely, if you've gotten here, then there must be some value that you have received from the interaction and the engagement. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. It starts with you. Cheers, man.
Thank you. Cheers.
Away. Cheers. Away.